The whole point of organic chemistry is to do multi-step synthesis. We're building complex molecules so that we can create revolutionary materials and design drugs that can treat ailments. And if multi-step synthesis feels overwhelming to you, this video is about to change that. Now let's go.
And today, we're not just doing one practice problem, we're doing 3. And in fact, we're going to go from beginner to intermediate to hard. And each one is designed to train a different level of organic chemistry thinking. First up is the beginner level. In this example, we're turning acetylene, which contains only 2 carbons and a triple bond, into what's known as butan 2-one, or a 4-membered carbon chain where at position 2 there's a ketone. And this means that we need to be able to do some functional group transformations and also some carbon-carbon bond forming reactions, which is lucky for us that we only know a few different types. For example, I know that in order to make a ketone, I can use a few different types of transformations. Number 1 is that I can oxidize an alcohol. I also know that I can add a Grignard reagent to a nitrile, and under acid workup, I end up getting a ketone. And the reason I know that is because I've memorized all these different reactions that I can use to synthesize ketones. One of the best ways to do this is to make flashcards, or I even have some down in the description that you can check out. Next, I need to use retrosynthetic analysis to help me work my way backwards. And retrosynthesis is a pathway that synthetic chemists use in order to devise this plan. So for example, I know that I can turn carbon-to-carbon triple bonds into ketones using a hydration reaction, and therefore it's likely that this is one of the reactions I'll use probably at the end. That allows me to do that functional group transformation. Next, I see that I need to be able to extend my carbon chain because my starting material has 2 carbons and my product has 4. And one of the ways that we can do that is if we take an acetylide anion, which is a carbon-to-carbon triple bond where one of the carbons has a lone pair and is negatively charged, I can do an alkylation reaction if I introduce an alkyl halide in order to extend that carbon-carbon bond. And that is going to allow me to add 2 additional carbons to this carbon chain. And I know that I can create this acetylide anion if I simply deprotonate acetylene. So if I have that carbon-to-carbon triple bond with a carbon-to-hydrogen bond coming off of it, I can deprotonate that with a really strong base in order to get that acetylide anion. So notice that I have a mastery of all the different reactions covered in organic chemistry, and then I'm using retrosynthesis in order to work my way backwards from the product to the starting material. And from here, all I need to do then is work my way forward, but remember, I have those reactions memorized. So for example, I know that if I add a strong base like NaNH2, I can deprotonate this acetylene carbon-to-hydrogen bond. And that actually is how I generate that acetylide anion, which I need to do my alkyne alkylation. From here, all that's required is the introduction of an alkyl halide, and this will allow me to extend my carbon chain by 2 if I use something like ethyl iodide, for example. So the carbon-to-carbon triple bond will remain intact, and then there will be 2 additional carbons at the end. So if this is carbons 1, 2, 3, and 4, those carbons correspond to 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that means I'm only 1 reaction away to my final product. In order to get that internal ketone, I know, since I've memorized the reactions, that if I use water in the presence of sulfuric acid, H2SO4, and also this mercury sulfate, I can generate this ketone from an alkyne via this hydration-oxidation reaction. Next up is a classic example of using different types of reactions that can happen on benzene, like electrophilic aromatic substitution, to create this final structure. And as a reminder, here are some of the examples that you can do for electrophilic aromatic substitution. Ultimately, multi-step synthesis is like a puzzle, and your brain has to have all the pieces. One of the first things I want to look at for this reaction is the fact that this methoxy group is actually going to be an ortho-para director. It's an ortho-para director because methoxy is an electron donating group, which means this is going to activate this benzene derivative, or in fact this is called anisole, towards ortho-para substitution when doing electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions. And notice that in our product, we have something that has been substituted at the meta position. And again, I have videos here that you can check out if you need to review these types of reactions. What's more is that I see that on this meta position here from the methoxy group is an amine, so this becomes an aniline derivative. And the only way to put NH2 on there is to first go through a nitro group and then do a reduction. So that is an example of understanding and identifying some of the reactions that might be necessary in our multi-step synthesis. Now importantly, I could just do a chlorination reaction here to substitute this para position for that chloro. However, However, since this methoxy group is electron donating and activating, that means that later reactions would still take place at these ortho positions. So what I can do instead is replace this para position with something other than chloro to help us direct what needs to eventually become an amine at this meta position. And a great example of this might be a nitro group. And the way that you nitrate para positions or do electrophilic aromatic substitutions is by using nitric acid. And remember, since that methoxy group is para directing, that means that when we do that nitration, our new nitro group will be placed para to this methoxy group. So our NO2 will end up being at this position. What's interesting is that this NO2 group is actually meta-directing. So if we were to do a subsequent transformation, it's likely that we might get some substitution down here, which isn't what we want in our final product. But instead, what I can do is reduce this using something like hydrogen and palladium on carbon, and this would turn our nitro group into an amine. And that's because we're reducing the nitro group to an NH2 group. So now what we have done is made our benzene derivative have two ortho-para directing groups. Now, something important to note about these aniline derivatives, meaning a benzene ring with an NH2 on it, is that these can be very reactive because there's a lone pair on this nitrogen, and this is going to be pretty nucleophilic. So one thing that we can do to prevent any reactions from happening that we don't want is to use this idea of protecting groups. Like an acetal is a protecting group for an alcohol. Similarly, we can use a protecting group on that amine. And one of the examples is going to be acetic anhydride, or AC2O. So if we use this, what ends up happening is that we put an acetyl group on that nitrogen, which will help it prevent it from reacting further in unwanted ways. So what this ends up being is NHAC. And now what we can do is go ahead and nitrate this position. But first, remember, we needed to protect it with that acetic anhydride. So again, we'll use nitric acid, HNO3, and that's going to end up giving us a nitro group at the ortho position to that protected amine. So here we have our protected amine. Here we still have our methoxy group. And at the ortho position to that protected amine, what we'll end up having is that nitro group. And now that we've protected it, in order to do that nitration, we can go ahead and take this off. And the way that you do that is you add a strong base, like potassium hydroxide, under aqueous conditions, so think like ethanol, for example, and that is how we can actually remove that protecting group to end up giving us two nitro groups on our benzene derivative. So at this point, now we have an NO2 here, and an NO2 at this position. Now, one of the ways that we can get rid of this group and end up turning it into the chloro derivative that we need is going to be using diazonium salts. Again, I have these reactions memorized, but if you don't, you can check out this video here that talks about all the different reactions that you can do from this NO2 group. First things first, we'll turn that into a chlorine by using HNO2 as our first reactant, and that's how we generate our diazo compound. And then if you use copper chloride, which allows us to do what's known as a Sandmeyer reaction, then from here we end up generating a chlorine at that position, because first we went through the diazo, so now we have a chloro group here, and a nitro group still located at this position, and then our methoxy group still remains at this bottom position. And then from here we actually are only one step away. So we can use something like H2 and rainy nickel, for example, to do the reduction from this nitro group to the amine. And this is the multi-step synthesis that allows us to go from anisole to this aniline derivative. And this is our advanced example. I'm putting it on the screen because it's a little more challenging to write out all these different reagents. We're trying to synthesize this fused ring intermediate towards the natural product of glycine declipin A. And our starting material is the commercially available R-carvone. Using the starting materials available to you in this box, propose a synthesis that would allow you to synthesize this molecule. Pause the video now and try it independently, and then resume the video to check your answer. First up, we're going to do a Michael addition. Using this organolithium reagent, copper iodide, and you probably need a little tributylphosphine. Using allylic bromide, we can append that carbon-to-carbon bond to our molecule. Next is a classic example of Robinson annulation. If we add something like LDA, for example, we would deprotonate the alpha carbon hydrogen that is alpha to the carbonyl group. This likely would have went to the less substituted carbon-hydrogen bond anyway, but there's only one carbon hydrogen here actually, adjacent to the carbonyl functional group. And from there, we use the classic Michael acceptor that allows us to do our Robinson annulation and generate our final product. If you enjoyed this new video, leave a thumbs up down below and drop a comment letting me know if you want to see more of these types of videos. And make sure that you subscribe subscribe to the channel so that you never miss out. I'll see you next time.